this video, we're going to talk about options that you have after you've done your initial plan, some of the different options inside the plan that we can do as far as reports and profit calculator and some different options like that. So just want to briefly go through that with you in this video just so you have a good idea of how those function. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go back into original homes. So for our main home builder accounts page, we're just going to type original homes. Original. And then we have our 145 e-tron lane that we worked on. So we're going to click on that. We can see after we've laid out our plan, all of our different devices are put in. We finished up that main level too, so you can see how that looks. So we've got a pretty good layout here of how this house was laid out. If we're going to exit out of this, I just want to show you some of the different options out on the main page once we have that done. We talked about it briefly in the last video, but I want to go into a little bit more detail of how that works once we have that done. So first thing that we're going to go to is overview. I want to go over a couple different options. Now we have our plan done, but I'm going to show you that we can click into edit overview. Now we've got our estimate all laid out, but another document has come in, and I want to show you that we can add documents even after we've put this house in. So the first thing I want to show you here is that we originally had that cabinet layout in there, and we're going to click on add another file. Then we're going to hit choose file, go to pictures here. We're going to put this example document in here. Now it still needs to be in a PDF format, of course, but say you get addendums that come in or anything like that, you can add another document that can later be used in this project to keep the process moving. So you're going to find that a lot of your documents will start showing up after your original estimate is begun. So you can easily add that in. Now up here is key to this though. We want to make sure that we do not upload a new project plan. If we upload a new project plan, we will lose the information that we've added before. So we want to make sure that we don't do that if we're going to, once we've edited that plan. Now for some reason, if you feel that the house it came in wrong, you can choose another file and you can add that plan and continue and relay it back out. But just for demonstration purposes, just to let you know, we won't do it in this one. We can also still change those markups if we want. So say we decide in this project we want to add another 5-10% to this project, we can do that at this point. We can also change the amounts that if the home builder wants to charge this customer more, we can change those things at any time during any time of the project. So, and then also we can change our statuses of who the estimator is and our field manager. So at any time, if you want to change any of that information, you're more than welcome to once you've even done a project. Just be careful with that. A lot of times you're going to find that you'll be passing this back and forth to some different estimators. If an estimator has no longer doing the project or you've assigned it to the wrong person, you can change that estimator. Also with the field managers, you can change that too. So you can literally just hit the control key and pull one of those off. Let's say we're going to change this to Frank Green and we'll do Shane Muck. So we would hit the control key and the mouse button, and now that's highlighted on there. So we're going to update this so that new page shows up in there. So let's hit update. Now this is an important deal because right here, if we were to hit yes, it'll reload that original plan, or it'll reload your new plan that you've put into place. So in this situation, we're going to hit no because we don't want that to happen. But if you hit yes, it will start that process over. So you have to be very careful when you're doing this, because if you've laid that out and you were to hit yes, it's going to reload those pages as if they're new. So in this case, we want to hit no because the only thing we want to add is that one page that we've added in the PDFs. So we're going to hit no. We're going to go back to 145 e-tron lane, and if we go to plans and other files, we can now see that we have another document in here. So we can hit View File, and it'll pull up that next document. So this is a good feature for any time you want to add some more information for your guys out in the field and that type of thing. In this situation, we've got our two documents, and that is the limitation right now that we currently have. You can do two documents, so you can take one document out if you want and add another one, but you can only keep two in the system. So that's how that works. So keep that in mind for the future. Also too, I'm going to show you the view plan because we haven't really looked at that extensively. This is what your customers and your home builders are going to see in their email link. And we'll talk about the email link a little bit more, but we can see the first thing that it did was it did the legend for us. It shows all the different symbols that we used. It only puts them on there once, of course, because once you've laid that symbol on there once, it will just put it on the legend once. It's just a better way so that we don't have pages and pages of legend information. Once you get going, you're going to build quite a few different assemblies, so you'll only want the ones that you used on that particular plan so that the customer doesn't get confused. So this is how that works, just so you can kind of see how that lays out. And this will be the first thing that the customer can reference back to on the plan to say, okay, I see what that symbol means. So we can see this is what that plan looked like once we did that. And we've added all our bow lines to show the connection to where these switches connect to certain light fixtures and different things like that. So the customer gets a really good idea of what their house is going to look like. This is important for the customer. It makes them very interactive on this process towards the estimate, because they can see now exactly what they're getting. And you didn't do any more work than you would have normally had to do. Once you've done this layout, everything else is done for you, and we're going to go into some more details on that. But you can see that it builds a nice looking plan. You can go down to page 2 here of the plan. We can see how it laid out and all the different bow lines are on the print now. And it gives the customer a good reference of how you've designed their house. So everything that they have is now on there. So that is how that's going to work. So we're going to click back out of there. Also too, in the next video, we're going to be talking more about the tablet. So we're going to be going back and forth from tablet, but this will be the place where we go from giving our field managers access to once we've done the design and handing it back over. But just want to make you aware of what that looks like down there. Now, next thing I want to do is I want to go back to overview. And I'm going to show you a pretty cool feature here we have, which is our build panel schedule. So if we click on that, we can see that when we were building assemblies, we built that panel so that it had 40 spaces, and we can see that we have 40 spaces here that we can use for our panel build out. So, and you can see that in this bin we have all the circuits that we laid on the plan. So it's a nice feature, because what you can do is you can literally just go in and say, okay, we can build this plan out for our panel schedules. So we'll go, and first thing we'll do is pull that range circuit over here. When we pull it over, you want to make sure that the range, that your cursor falls right on top of the box. Don't pull it off to the side or anything like that, because the cursor has to be in the box for it to lay in there correctly. But we can see that because the range, when we assigned it in the assemblies, had 2 positions, that it automatically uses 2 positions in the panel schedule. So it's smart enough to know that, okay, because that had 2 spaces, that we need to use 2 spaces. So that's how that works. And we can literally just go through here and pull of our circuits over there. We'll put our 15 amps underneath this range so you can see how that looks. And it's really easy. You just pull them all over here. Go through the list here. It's a nice, easy way to build your schedule. It makes it professional, and it gives your guys a good idea of exactly how many circuits they need to pull for the house. So it comes in very handy. Add this dryer on here. Then we'll put our different 20 amps in here too. See, it did our bathroom circuits. And you can see the generic label, and we'll talk about that here in a second. Keep pulling these over so you can see that. You can see all of our kitchen circuits have showed up on there that we pulled. And there's our washer, our 20 amp arcs, our combinations. So, once you've laid all those circuits on the print, it makes it just that simple, so this is exactly what's going to go on there. So, and let's talk about these labels here. You can see that they're in sort of a generic form. You put a generic form when you made those assemblies, but we can literally go in and we can edit those, and we could say, let's say bedroom 1, 2. Let's do like master bedroom. Let's do kitchen and dining room. We'll do great room. And you can be very specific on these. So we can say lower level receptacles and family room. We'll go lower level lighting. Oops. So we can see that it makes it very easy to build the schedule the way you want it. We'll talk about over here too our bathroom circuits. So those came in a generic form. So we'll do main level bath. We'll do our master bath closet. No, we'll just do master bath on that. Do lower level bath. We used one for a 20 amp GFI circuit out in the garage, so we'll just go garage GFCI circuit. And you can see some of these other ones too, so we can get more specific with them. So we'll go with the washer for now. You'll have, let's say that this washer was in the lower level. So we can go, just for example here, you can make these more specific to their location. So you can see that you can build a schedule, and once you've done that, we can just literally hit save, and then the panel schedule is built. So if we go back to generate PDF, we can see that it builds a schedule for us to put in our panel. So we can print these out and give them to our guys. Also, one thing that we can do is later on we can put these in a better order. So say we wanted to move something, say we find out our guys move some things around in the panel, we can literally just go remove, and it'll put it back in the bin. We'll move this one just so you can see that we can move around. So we want to put refrigerator there, and we want to put this one here. So we can move those orders around at any time. We can also do that on the tablet out in the field. So once your guys are out there and they've laid out the panel, and maybe they didn't follow the same as the print or the schedule, then you can move it around on the tablet and change labeling on the tablet. to make it specific to however your guys did it. So if we just generate that PDF again, you can see that now it's moved that refrigerator up to this point and move some different things around. So it comes in really handy, builds a very professional looking schedule for you. Instead of having to do stickers and different things to put in your panel, you can literally just use, it's got your company logo and information, contact information on there, so you can show that. It shows what address it was for, just so if you're printing out several of them, you can make sure it's going out to the right house. So a nice little feature inside REMS to make your world a little bit easier. Now I want to show you one other thing. We're going to go back out here to project overview, and I'm going to go into edit plan real quick because I want to show you something. Say you had a 400 amp service or even a sub panel. We'll just do another garage service for now just so I can show you that. But we can take and add another service. A lot of times in the 400 amp services, we're going to potentially have 2 panels, and I'll show you how that looks in scheduler. Let's save here. Back us back out. Now if we go into a panel scheduler again, you can see that this panel, we had our circuits in here, but if we keep going down the list, that we'll actually have another panel schedule that can go underneath that. So you can have multiple panel schedules, and if we click on save, just go to generate here, you're going to see that it'll give you another page of panel schedules that we could do. So you can potentially have more than one panel for the house and be able to put those circuits in more than one panel. So it's a nice feature when you're dealing with 400 amp services or sub panels, something to that nature. You can literally just do that, and it makes it really easy for you. Also with sub panels too, and sub panel will actually give you another sub panel breaker that'll be over here in the bin for you that you can put in on that first panel to feed over to the next schedule. So kind of a handy little feature there. The next thing I want to go through is we're going to go through reports. A lot of different reports. So we've done that original estimate. Well, I'm going to go back in here just one second. We're going to take that panel back out just so it doesn't get confusing here. Delete that off. Hit save. This print has quite a few different assemblies on there. So the more assemblies that you have on there, you're going to see that it sometimes takes a couple more seconds to save, depending on how many icons we've put on the page. So you'll see it go from, if you have 100 and some, it'll save a little faster. It's just trying to put everything in the right order so that it can build a print, and we can see that it's building that generation of the print right now. So I'm going to show you this. Let's go to report. So we've done our layout, and I just want to show you what these estimates look like. So we can go into general estimate report. We can click on that button, and you can see that it's built our estimate off of all the information that we gave it from the print. We can see all of our different quantities. It's put in our project name and our PO, our purchase order that we're using for this, which when we set up those this original job, we set it up that it would have the same information. So, but you can see that it builds a really nice looking estimate for you, and then gives it a grand total at the end for them of what it is with the markups and everything already included on it. So it's a good looking estimate when it's done. It makes it look very professional, and when it's going out to your customer, they'll get the general estimate and they'll get the link to the plan, and we'll show you what one of those link emails looks like as well. So now one thing you can do here is, once you've generated that, you can actually go back, and I'll generate it one more time just so you can see something. Generated it. Now we're going to click back out. We can go to a report archive that'll show every time that we've generated this. So if you've had changes and you ever want to go back to look what the original one was, as long as you know what month you did it, it will show you all of them. So I'm going to show you October, and then we're going to do 2016. It'll show you the different ones that we've generated here. So we can look at our original one before any changes were to it, and it'll show you the most current one as well. So at any time, if you need to go back and look and say, hey, let me see what I did on that first one, you can show them the difference in case there's any questioning to anything. So it's a nice feature. It saves all of your different estimates that you generate so that you can always go back and look at them and show your customer if they're questioning something. So let's go back out to reports. Just click on that again. I'll show you as well the detailed estimate report. Very similar. We just hit generate, but you can see on this one it's added the column for what the exact rate was for each of your assemblies. A lot of times as electricians we don't always like to give out every bit of information as far as all of our openings. If this were to go to another electrician, then obviously they can use that information for their own good, I guess. You know, you want to, in the software set up automatically, once you are going to share it for the first time, it will use the general, not the detailed. So you may have some customers that want to see the detailed information, and this is where you would give them that. So that's how that works. Now we're going to talk about a feature here in the next video that's going to talk about adding an estimate to QuickBooks. On both of our detailed estimate and detailed invoice, we can move this information over into QuickBooks Online. So we'll talk about that in the next video. It's just a nice feature that you can actually move all your estimate information right over into QuickBooks, similar to probably how you were doing it before, but it'll automatically propagate all that information in there. This is just a, you know, anytime we can print these out for our customers and give them to them, this is just so that we can keep track of all that information in QuickBooks as well if we wish. So let's go ahead and click on reports again. So you've seen what the estimates look like, and I want to show you the invoices or similar. Now another function on invoices that we can do is we can put a line at the bottom. You know, you can type this in and let's say see us on Facebook, anything like that. You know, or you can put in 30-day, you know, I mean, you can leave any type of description inside there and copy and paste it in there before you run the report. But if we generate this report on our invoice, we can see looks very similar to our estimate. Obviously it changes all the information to an invoice. It'll give you all that general information. Now one thing it will do, and I'll show you, that the difference between the invoice and the estimate is we added a couple of items on that original print that were customer changes. It will actually break it out and tell you what was the original estimate and what was the customer changes, and then giving you the new total. So the estimate doesn't show the customer's changes, the invoice does. And we'll talk about that a little bit more once we get into customer change reports and things like that. But invoice will show, hey, this was where our estimate was, and these are items that were added. So you can see this total was bigger than what that original estimate was because we added items that were actual customer changes. You can see it shows you a little comment that we left in there too. So builds a very nice invoice for you to send out to your customers. You can print it out, you can save it. You'll have some different options with the invoices. And then the same thing with our, if we click on reports again, we'll see that we have our detailed invoice. Same thing, we can eventually send this to QuickBooks as well, and like I said, we'll talk about that in that next video. Just wanted to kind of give you that, but you can regenerate this, and this one's the detail, just gives the rate per opening, and we can see down here what it does for the customer part of it is these items are what the builder is charged, not what the homeowner thinks those openings are. So if say this builder added those 15% to that, the customer is going to see a different price on that, in which we'll talk about in the next on the next report. But when it's going back to our builder, they're just being charged what their normal opening price were for those customer changes. So as you can see, it builds a nice invoice, nice and professional looking, nice and clean. You can print these out and send them off. So same thing, you still have the report archive for any of our reports that we do. It will send out, we can, if we go to October 2016, we can share this or we can view this report. So I'm going to click back in reports again. We'll talk about the next one I want to go through is the customer change orders. Now we have two customer change orders. We have customer change order and the customer change order to the builder. Not much difference in this. This one just goes to the customer itself. So if we generate this report, and we'll talk about this quite a bit on tablet too, because this is an important function. But you can see that we have our bill to information, so we're billing this to the builder. And then this box, we don't have any homeowner information in here yet, but we'll talk about that once we get to tablet as well. This would be where the customer information would fall as far as the homeowner. And you can see that the items that are in here show what the customer is being charged for those items that were added to the estimate. So we can see that they had the one switch, and we have the 4 cans that we added to that bedroom in the lower level. Now this shows on this report that 15% markup per opening. So that's how that works. So we do show the rate in there for the customer, because we feel that's important for them to understand what each of those items that they're being charged for, and that just has the markups already in it. So that's how that works. And then I'll show you the customer change order to builder if we were to view that. This one's slightly different just because this would be one that you would send to your builder themselves so they could see what they made afterwards. So we had that 15% in there. It says what the total charge was to the customer. This is the total charge that's going to go to the builder, and then the profit to the builder. So you can see that the customer thinks that they're being charged the $266. This is what the builder is actually being charged, and then the profit that the builder is going to receive. So this is basically showing the builder you're going to be charged $230 in comparison to them thinking that it's $266. So it's very handy for the builder. Basically they don't have to do a lot except add these things to their addendums, where before they had to do the markups and then send it back out. The customer's already approved everything with the electrician in the field, and it takes the builder out of this and doesn't give them so much headache that they have to deal with in the change order process, and it makes the customer feel like I'm just being charged with what the builder's being charged. So it adds that personal touch to them when they can see. And when we get to tablet, we'll go into much more detail about customer change orders, but I just wanted to show you how that worked. But you can see that you can have that report for both your customer and for your builder. You can send them both out. Always be careful which one you're sending out. Don't send the builder a copy to the customer. They might get a little cranky about that, but that's how the customer change order reports work though. And same thing, we can do the report archive with this. We can pull up and see which ones that we've run. So if the customer's changed the item several times throughout the process, you can go back, because they may question something, you can go back and show them the original report of where you started in comparison to where it's at now. So a lot of times homeowners can be a little indecisive, so they'll be making changes along through the process. So at any time you can show them where they started and where they ended up, so you've got some detailed information to say, well, no, this is why it's different than where we originally started. So if we click on reports again, show you some more reports you have. We've got two up here for our general pick list report and our detailed pick list report. Now on general pick list report, it's going to give you just the generalized information that goes to your vendors. So let's pull down this menu here. We can see we have Crestmore Electrical Supply and Tesla Electrical Supply as part of the openings that were chosen in this particular plan. Now this list could get larger as you have openings that are involved with more and more supply houses. That's just going to be, it's going to give you the ability to send out the report to each one of those. So in this case, we'll show you, we have our rough and our trim, and we'll show you rough out of the gate just so I can show you what that looks like. So we're going to put Crestmore, and we're going to go click on rough, or rough's already chosen. We don't need to do a color. This is so that you can specify to the supply house which color they need to pull the devices in. So let's click on generate here. And you can see it's giving them a list of everything that was chosen inside that, all those openings. So any of that material that was chosen as rough end material is on this list now. It gives a detailed list of them and what you're projecting this to be around. It doesn't include tax at this point, but it does give you them what the subtotal of this should end up. And you can see it makes a nice little report. You can email this straight to them, and I'll show you that. Click back out of here. Let's go to October. You can go to that, and if we click share, it'll actually send the information to who you've propagated into your vendors for their email contact, and then you can just send this off and it'll send that pick list straight to them for the order that you need for this job. So, and then same thing, we can go, let's go to Crestmore again, and we go to trim. In this situation, we would say, okay, well, we want all the devices to be light almond devices. If we were to hit generate, you can see the pick list shows all the items that are designated for trim stage. You can see all of our plates, all of our outlets, everything that we did that's included into those openings. So it builds a nice, quick, easy list. But you know, you didn't have to determine any of that material. You know, it's already done for you. That's the great thing about the designer is once you get all your work done in editor, you know, everything else has been done for you. You've eliminated all the time of having to build the estimate, build your invoices, and determine all your material. It's just done everything for you, which is just a really slick feature. So, you know, the time that you feel like you've added in the editor in comparison, if you think about it over the long term of your project, this has done everything for you up till this point. And as you get working and making changes and things like that, everything is updated for you as well. So you never have to, you know, that print is as exact as it can be for your electricians and for your customers and for your vendors. You know, everybody's got a detailed list of information of where we're at. So with the trim, you can see that it shows our color here, shows what the project name, so they can assign that to your PO that's going to the vendors. So you can track your jobs individually, you know. So it's just a handy feature for your vendors. And there's going to be some new options that we're adding to this too. We're working with some of the supply houses that will make it easier for them to have it propagate straight into their system. And some of the changes that will come up to REMS in the next versions will deal more with how the vendors are going to get involved with this and how they can keep your pricing up to date. So look for cool things with vendors on the next version of REMS. It's going to be really neat. So if we click back out here, same thing with the pick list. The detailed pick list, the only change that it does in detailed is if we go to generate, you can see it tells the vendors what we think each of these are. Now, the only thing you have to be careful with this on is vendors can be a little sneaky sometimes. So if some of the prices have actually dropped down, or you know, for some reason you don't have the right price in there, and they see that they're only actually charging you maybe $330, but they think that you think it's $423, they might change the price on you. So be careful. Vendors can be, they're in it to make the money, obviously, but so that's why if somebody needs to see this is a good one. I don't always send it out to the vendors because I feel like sometimes they will do it just to if they need to make necessary changes to see that they can make a little bit more money. But you know, just be careful of that. But in some cases, it's a good way for you to go back and look after, you get your invoice from the vendor. You can look at your detailed list and see, okay, let me run through this list. Does it match up to where I think I'm at? And you can say, okay, well, some of these openings don't match. I need to change some pricing in my inventory list to get this closer. So you'll get good at sending your list out to the vendors and saying, hey, check this. I normally do it once a month where I just say, check my numbers, see where we're at, so. And you can, what you'll do then too is you'll send it out to the first vendor and then send it out to your next vendor. So it just will bring all that information to you or to them, and make sure that you have all your material in a timely fashion. So, and the great thing is, when they go out on the rough end, there's no more guesstimating. There's no more them taking just what they think they need, or in most cases they're gonna, if you're just letting them pick what they think they're gonna need, they're gonna pick more than what they need, and that stuff's banging around in the back of a van or something, getting scratched up. This is giving them the exact material count that they need to do this work. Whether it's in the rough end stage or trim stage, it's gonna get you to hopefully, to a 95 to 100% accuracy, depending on how you do it. So the more you see that, okay, I can make this more exact and get it more thorough when you're setting up your openings, to the point where your loss will become so minimal that you're going to feel like you're making the most money you can. Because in a lot of situations, this is where we lose money as estimators, is our guys will take what they need or what they think they need. Now exactly where you're at. Now they're using exactly what you're thinking. That changes the process so much that your guys are doing what you want them to do. They have an exact idea by the print of how they need to lay it out, what material's being sent out. Really, by the end of their rough end, they should use everything that you've sent out. There might be a couple little fill-in points, but they should be pretty close if you're using REMS to its full potential. We're going to click back out on reports. There's one more report that we're going to talk about, but I'm not going to click on it yet because I want to show you. It will be the profit calculator report, and we're going to show you what this does once we go into profit calculator. But this is the list of reports that you have. Handy reports. There's not a lot of them, but it's everything you're going to need to be able to get this done on a daily basis. It's going to come in really handy for you. So let's go to the next thing we want to talk about is the profit calculator. So let's click on profit calculator. Now we can see our profit calculator has a lot of information on here. We can say, okay, it shows us what we think that estimate's going to cost. All of the fees that we have in there, or pretty much what the invoice is going to total, because this amount does include what the customer changes were as well. So it shows you everything that it thinks that this project's going to equal out to on an estimate or invoice. The material cost shows you about how much material you have in this. It shows you that you have your $4,080 worth of material, and that's just determined everything that you've used so far on this project. The next row here is going to be for our electricians. So let's fill this out a little bit just so you can see what this looks like. And if we're going to put in this is going to be for the estimator before he sends out that estimate, to get a good judgment call of where he feels like that project's going to come in at. So, and you can get very specific with this, or you could just say, I have 4 electricians, an hourly rate of this, and equal that out. You don't have to get real specific. I like to, just because I like to be pretty particular when I'm estimating, so that I feel like I know where I'm at. So let's go with the first electrician. We'll set him at $22 an hour, and we'll put that we feel that he's going to do the rough end stage of this job in, let's say 24 hours. We're going to go a little higher just so you can see this work. So we'll go 30 hours on this. We'll say his helper is going to make $16 an hour, and he'll do 30 hours as well. So then you got to think about the trim stage. We're going to have another electrician. He's going to be, let's say he's at $21 an hour. And you can decimal point this. So if you want to get really specific on this, you can. And we can do, we'll do him at, let's say he's going to take 22 hours to get this done. We can click on for a helper for him. We can do, let's say this helper is, let's say 16 as well. And then we're adding another 22 hours to match what your main trim guy is doing. So right now you can see that it's added all of our costs that we'll have in our employees. Now we can add a row to this. You know, you can add as many rows as you want, and you can also delete them just by hitting the X. We'll just hit it so that way you can see that, take it off there. So we're going to plan as an estimator to have this amount of people on this job. On the next line we're going to talk about is our overhead. This is going to be whatever your company uses for all the things that you're not including in the job. You know, your gas, your rent, the different things like that. If you've determined an overhead number that you use for your company that is all the extras that you need to break down on a per hourly basis for your guys when you're figuring estimates. We're just for sense, we're going to say it's $11 an hour overhead, and you can decimal point this too if it's 11, 23, 11. You know, I mean, once you figure that number, you'll know where you need to be for that. But you can break it down by the decimal point. And then you just take these total hours and add them together. So we have 104 hours. So it figures that we have $1,144 in overhead that needs to be included on this job. So, and you can see that it's projecting us to make, after all of our costs in there, it's projecting us to make $6,000 on this house. You know, so that is just really, it's very helpful for you as an estimator. It gives you a great peace of mind before you send out an estimate that, okay, this is where I want to be. So you can figure out kind of your percentage. Are you hitting the percentages of money that you want to make? You can edit this however you want. You know, once you've seen this, you can say, okay, well, I want to go back into my plan, and you could go back to overview and change that amount to make this even higher. So and we'll talk about doing that here real quick. The first thing before we do that is I want you to hit save on that, because the nice thing about Profit Calculator is something that we'll talk about here in a minute. So we can hit save, and it'll save that information for you of what you've done up there. And let's go back to overview, because let's say we want to change that. We feel like we want to make a little bit more money on this house. So we're going to go in. Now, remember, always change this before you send it out to somebody, because if you change that number after you've sent out your estimate, it's going to reflect it on their invoice. So you're going to want to be careful of that, because they're going to see that something's changed since last time. So this is a great feature. Before you send out that estimate, you could change this number and say, okay, well, we're going to go 10% on this, and we're going to hit update. Now remember, hit no on this, because if you hit yes, it's going to start reloading that plan again. So hit no. We're going to go back into the 145 e-tron lane, and we're going to go back to our profit calculator. You can see that the totals have changed since last time. We can see now that that amount's gotten higher than the last time that we had talked about it, because this total has actually jumped up, you know, more money than we were originally at by, you know, somewhere around $300 there. So your profits have jumped up since then. So, and if we click on save here, it'll save that information in for you. Now, the cool thing about that we've added to the profit calculator is we can go into actual cost after a job is done. So we can go in and click on the actual cost button, and we can put this information in. Say that we'll go back to project and look at this. we projected originally that we were going to make 13, or that the invoice total was going to be 13,639. Let's say they added something else along the line, so this ended at 14,200. And then we can click on save here. We can do our material costs actually cost us, say it went down a little bit. Say we were at 4,043 after all our invoices come in. And then we can actually, the nice thing on this one is we can go in, and this is going to be for our electricians we use, but we can track their names. So we can say, okay, well, we got Jake Blue here. He did the rough-in. He ended up costing us, let's say we ended up spending a little bit more money on him. Say it was 700. Let's say, we'll just do that. $780 that it cost after we pull his reports of his payroll. Maybe it costs a little bit more, but the next helper we'll do Fred Smith as his helper. He actually went down a little bit, so we'll say it cost us $345 to do Fred. And let's say John. And let's say John trim the house was $600. And we'll do let's say so we can put our information in of actually what electricians did the work. So we can look at this information later and see, we're going to do a similar style house later on as an estimator, and we want some comparison, and we want to know the comparison by who did it. So that way we can say, well, when we put these guys in this situation, it actually costs a little bit more. So, we'll use that 11 on there. We'll still say we shot the hours off a little bit. It took a few more hours than what we originally thought. So we thought of 104 and ended up taking 120. So we can see here that it will show the information of what the project actually took. This is a nice feature because you can go back later and say, okay, how did I do, and have a comparison to use for future projects. So, and then if we hit save here, we have our projected and we have our projected. So we were still pretty close on the actual. We made a little bit more than what we even projected. So we ended up coming out looking better on this project than where we thought we were going to be. So, and then the nice thing too is we can go into reports here, and we can go into our profit calculator report, and we can hit view. And when we generate that report, it will show us a breakdown of where we were at and what those differences were. So what we projected, what we actually used was different. So showing it was $37 less than what we projected. It was $500 or $561 more than what we originally thought we were going to make or what we were going to charge. The electricians were added $173 to this in comparison to where we projected that. So it gives you a nice breakdown of what happened. So you can pull this report at any time and say, okay, how did I do? So you can print this out and have a record of where you're at on different things. So a nice little feature on the profit calculator to see. It just comes in really handy for the next project in comparison to where instead of doing a blind, you have a really good way to determine that. The next thing I want to talk about is project status. So if we click on the project status button, this is so that you have a documentation of wherever you're at in the project to in the main menu to know where you're at. Also lets you know when your guys have changed things on the tablet, when they finished walkthroughs, different things like that. And we'll talk about this a little bit. We're going to go, and I want to change this to, we're going to get a little, we're going to jump ahead quite a bit. We're going to do, say, rough in stage complete. And we can leave a comment that, we'll say that this came from our guys in the field. Now, a lot of times I use these so we can see once we've changed this, it shows the who did it and the comment that was left. And one of the things about this is it comes in very handy when we're, so let's go out here to 145 e-tron. If we go back out to our home builder projects, we can actually say, okay, show me the plans that are, show me the statuses, and it will break it down by order of statuses. So we can see it's saying, okay, these are still your estimates, here's your customer walkthrough statuses, and rough in stage complete. So you know on this that, okay, they completed the rough in stage, so whether your people in your office or whatever need to know, where you're at. If the rough in is complete, they can bill, different things like that. So it gives good communication back and forth from the office to the field of saying, here's where we're at in the process. This plan was accepted. You've got quite a few different project statuses. This comes in very handy when you're working with your guys, just so you know where a project's at. So after you get an estimate, you can say, okay, the plan's been approved, or you can say a plan was never accepted, customer walkthrough, different things like that. You can have a nice way of telling where that project is in different things. So it comes in really handy when you're getting ready to do billing and do checks and stuff like that. So one of the nice things I make our guys do is when the project's done, I make them change to rough in stage complete. I make our field managers actually go out, look at the project, make sure that it matches the print, because if it matches the print, it matches the estimate, it matches the materials, it matches everything that we need to know so that we're not going to lose any money anywhere. We can invoice if they're saying, okay, I've checked it and it's complete. It's just a nice double check system too. So I make them do it after trim stage. So when they're going out and looking at trim, they can look and make sure, hey, did everything get put in correctly? Is anything buried? They can tell because by the layout, if maybe the drywall guys covered up a bunch of different things, they'll know by the print that yes, there was something there. It was right in this area and it's still buried. So it's a great way throughout the project to know this is what was put in. This is, through everything has been completed the way that we wanted it to go. So now one other thing I want to talk about in project status is an important feature, and a feature that you're going to like down the road, especially when you get going on a lot of different prints. Say on e-tron lane, we were to say, we're going to change e-tron lane that this is let's call it a template towards other projects. So we have project template stage. So say e-tron lane becomes what the standard is for this builder on this particular house. So we can go and say, all right, we're going to change this to project template stage. And just leave a comment in here. You got to put a little comment in here, whatever you put. It does require you to put it in here when you're changing statuses. So we're going to put it in here as using this for a template. And we're going to commit, or we're going to hit submit. Now, what happens here is when a project becomes a template, we're no longer able to, we can still do certain things, but we can't go back in and edit it. We can't do anything. We can look at it, we can look at what we've attached to it, but we can't do anything else to this project because the project's completed. and we've changed it to a template. So that means that none of this information can be edited anymore. It's going to be the standard that we use on the next project, and I'll explain that as we go. So let's go out to view projects for original homes. So I want to go to add a new project and say we're going to do 150 E-tron Lane. Same street, same conditions, everything else. Actually, we're going to hit import project real quick. So I want you to hit this import project. Let's go back through our list here, and we have original homes. And if we pull down the project menu here, we can see that 145 E-tron Lane is on this project, or is on this list. Now, we put that in there. We need to change the name because this is obviously specific to 145 E-tron Lane. We're going to change it to 150 E-tron Lane. Same street, still the E-lay plan. We need to change its address. And we're not going to do any information down here. We're going to keep everything exactly the same. We're not going to change its any of the information that we have on here, because I want to show you what this is going to do. If we hit continue, it's loading it here. Now 150 E-tron Lane has all the information that 145 E-tron Lane had. So you can use this. So say you have a builder that does the same house several times. Well, you can make a template for that plan, for the E-lay plan, and use it over and over and over again, and just assign it out to the next job. So we can go and say, okay, if we go in here, 150 E-tron Lane looks exactly the way that we laid it out for 145 E-tron Lane. So all the information is exactly the same. We have everything on here, but the great thing about that is we can change this. So let's say we're not doing the can lights on this print, or we can add information. We can do whatever we want. Once we've built it, we can delete it later on. Let's go and take those bow lines off too for that. Those are no longer going to apply. Make sure I have the right one on there. So we've taken those bow lines out of there since those can lights aren't there anymore. I'm going to close that down. So now 150 has all the same principles that 145 E-tron Lane had. So that's a nice feature in REMS. You don't have to redesign every single time. Once you make the template and you wanted to use it on the next one, and if it matched all the same criteria, you can literally do that, and you can do it to as many plans as you want, and you can make as many templates as you want. So it's going to be a huge time saver for you that, hey, I already did that layout. I can use that same layout again. You know, it's meeting all those same criteria that we did before. So that's a great feature in REMS. Another feature that just makes your estimator even that much faster. We're going to exit back out of here. Let's go ahead and make sure we saved that. But yeah, I love the template feature. You know, it comes in so handy when you're working with a builder that does large quantities of houses, and they're using the same plan over and over and over again. We don't have to redesign every time. We can just pull that up, sign a new address to it, sign new information to it, and it'll show you all that information of how you had it originally laid out. So now you will have to put new actual costs into your calculator and stuff after you've done this project, because it's going to obviously have different determining factors. But Everything's already the same as 145 e-tron lane. The pick list, everything, the estimate's already done for you. So think about that. You just did the next house without having to do anything, you know. And great thing about template is too, it can be used. So say you're getting a plan that's coming in to that 4 or 5 different electrical companies are estimating on. You can lay it out once and then make it into a template, and you can send it and make one for each builder. Say this one's this, but he's going to pay this. This one's this, you know, it can go out to so many different builders using the same plan and have different criteria. You know, you can change certain items that you know that builder wants in comparison to the other builder, but you use the same plan over and over. Just a great feature for making making the project work for you. So, and like I said, you can change the markups on 150 e-tron lane after you've changed, after you've created from the template. So a feature you're really going to get a kick out of. I think that it helps the process so much. You can see here it's already built our project or our schedule and for our panel schedule. So a nice feature for REMS, and I think your estimators will really it's really going to help them out with the process and save them even that much more time. So that's the features that I wanted to talk about in Editor. Still have a couple more videos that we're going to go through. We'll have a video that's dealing with some tablet issues. So we'll be going back and forth from tablet into Editor, so you can kind of see that. A couple of the videos that you can watch that will help with the processes too. If there is any questions, as always, feel free to contact us at support@tawconcepts.com, or you can visit us online at tawconcepts.com, where some different questions can be answered for you on there as well by other customers. And thanks again for watching this video, and continue watching the rest of them, and good luck.